Hey guys, hello and welcome to Naveed for Speed. In today's video, I have brought to you this car here, which I have lovingly named Dora because it is the Ford Explorer. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you around the exterior and around the interior of the car. And I'm also going to be taking it out for a drive to show you exactly what it feels like to drive. This car was supplied to me thanks to DM Keith Ford in Bradford, but all opinions are my own. Let's start with the exterior of the car. I have here the premium trim level. You can get this car in a select trim level and you can get in the premium. The premium is the top level. That's the one that I've got here. So it's got a few features that the select one doesn't have. And I'll show you those as I go around the car. But to start with, let me show you the front of the car, because the front of the car is actually quite interesting. You have this massive front blocked off area with the Ford badge on there. That's where you would normally have a grille. It's an electric car, obviously, so that's why that is. At the front here it says Explorer, just in case you forget what this car is called. It should actually say Dora on the top. But yeah, it's got LED matrix headlights, which can actually turn the dynamic, so they can turn as you turn the steering wheel. That's because this is the premium trim level. In your select version, you just get ordinary LED lights. As we move towards the side of the car, you'll see these 20-inch alloy wheels. Now that's again because this is the premium trim level. It's 20 inches. In the select version, you get 19 inches. And they look pretty cool here in this 6 spokes sort of configuration. You don't normally get 6 spokes in ordinary vehicles, but in electric cars, I've been seeing all sorts of configurations of wheels. 6 spokes, 4 spokes, all sorts, 3 spokes. It's actually interesting. We're seeing more and more wheel designs, which are really cool. As I show you more about the side of the car now, you can see the car's side profile. It's got the same wheelbase as its sibling, which is the ID4 and the Skoda Enyaq. But you'll notice the front and the rear overhangs, they're not that big. The car doesn't extend much past the front wheels. And that gives it this sort of blocky SUV kind of look, which is what it has here. And that's what gives it its blocky SUV look. Now you can see it's not that high in terms of ride height, in terms of ground clearance. So, you know, I don't know if you can treat this as a full SUV, but you can see the sort of style that they're going for. This is only Ford's second electric vehicle, the full electric vehicle. The first one was the Mustang Mach-E, and while it did come late, this car has also come quite late. But Ford actually did a decent job with the Mustang Mach-E, but it didn't really make much of an impact. Now this car, they're hoping it does. So again, later on in this video, I will take it out for a drive and I will show you what it feels like to drive. But let me tell you more about the exterior of the car, unless I get blown away in this wind in the meantime. Right, I'll show you, actually, sorry, before I continue, I'm going to show you this feature right here. So because this is a premium spec, you also get a skid plate that says Explorer over here in the door sill as well. So as we move towards the back of the car, you can see firstly this sort of floating roofline effect that you have going on here. Now this car is spec'd in fully black, so you can't really see that as well, but if you spec the car in different colors, I suspect you can see that a lot more. You have this massive rear spoiler over here, which again you can see in cars like the Volkswagen ID3, in the Cupra Born, those kind of cars. It follows that similar design, and it looks pretty good, I think, as well, in this sort of SUV configuration that you have here. At the back you get a electric tailgate, and I'll show you inside the boot in a second, but you can also see again at the back here it says Explorer as well. Looks really cool, black on black on this particular car, looks really good. And then you have rear LED headlights as well. So I mean, it looks like an SUV, but does it drive like one? Does it feel like one? I'll take it out for a drive, but before I do, let me show you the boot. I told you, you have this electric rear tailgate which opens to reveal this boot right here. Now this boot is 450 litres. Now that is a little bit less than some of the competitor cars like the ID4, Skoda Enyaq, even the Nissan Ariya. The Tesla actually has so much more than this as well. So why does this car have such less boot space? And it doesn't even have a front boot as well under the bonnet. It doesn't have any space there. So why is that? But again, I told you, because the car has the same wheelbase, but it has less of a rear overhang, what Ford have done is they've focused on the interior, the space, leg room for rear passengers, and they've sacrificed that boot space. So that's why you only have 450 litres. But you do get some space under here, so you can actually lower this floor. But currently, we've got charging cables in there. So if I move the charging cables onto here, there you go, you can lower the floor and you can get a little bit more space, but then you have this sort of lip that you have to pull everything over. So if you put the floor higher, you can actually take things in and out easier. You also get a 12-volt socket over here, so you can plug stuff into over here. The seat split 60-40, but you also get a ski slope, a ski hatch as well, so you could load through if there's anything pretty long as well. You don't really get a parcel shelf back here, but you do get this cover which can hide stuff, and it is a bit of a faff to take off, so I'm not going to try and take that off anymore. But yeah, you can use that to make sure everything's covered, and then you can either press the button to shut the boot, or, which a lot of cars don't let you do, you can actually just pull it down and it will actually close for you. So that's pretty handy. So inside the Ford Explorer, one of the interesting things to know is you don't actually have to start the car. You simply get into the car and you can press your foot on the brake and the car will automatically start for you. There is a stop start button on this side of the steering wheel, but you don't actually have to press that. And when you put the car into park and you leave the car, it will automatically turn the car off for you. And when you walk away from the car, it will automatically lock all the doors for you. So let me tell you a little bit about the interior. Now, because I'm in the premium spec, the top trim level, there are a few things that are different in this car compared to the ordinary select spec. So firstly, you might have noticed the massive panoramic sunroof that you get, this glass roof that you get, which extends all the way to the rear cabin. I'll show you a bit more about that when I show you the rear cabin. You also get a 10-speaker B&O sound system in this particular car. So that's this sound bar that you can see, which actually looks really lovely in this interior. It actually suits the interior really well. And when we talk about the entire interior, it's got loads of plastic material all around the car, all around the cabin, but it doesn't seem like cheap plastic. It's really nice to touch, and it's not as scratchy as you think. It has some nice patterns in the center console here as well. And yeah, the materials inside the car make the car feel really quite a nice place to be. You've got some piano black features. You've got leather on the steering wheel. This sort of flat bottom, flat top steering wheel is actually really nice to hold. Almost in like a hexagonal shape actually, with this contrasting stitching. It's got these haptic feedback buttons on the steering wheel, which do get fingerprints on them. Not the best to use, but again, they look so cool in this car. And then it says Explorer on the steering wheel here at the front as well. The seats are this onyx black material color that is in the premium spec. It comes with this quilting pattern as well. You don't get adjustable headrest, but again, the seats look really cool. They feel nice and comfortable, slightly firm, but that again, I'll show you exactly what this car feels like to drive in terms of the comfort, because the car is quite firm, a little bit on the sporty side. More of that when I take it out for a drive. Let me show you more about this interior, because there are some very interesting features. So in front of the driver, you get this 5.3-inch digital cockpit, which gives you all the information. It might be small, but it's small enough that you can see everything through the steering wheel, so you get a full view of all the information that you need when you need it. Would I have liked a bigger one? Probably yes. That is the way with most modern cars, but yeah, that's basically what Ford have decided to do with this car. And there are a lot of features in this car which remind me of other cars, like the Volkswagen ID.4, which is what this car is based on. It has the same motor, same battery, same chassis, so it's basically based on that car. And you can get some sort of idea of that, especially since I've spent some time in the Cupra Born, and it has a similar drive mode selector here on a stalk on the right hand side. Now, because all the drive modes are here on this stalk, what it means is that everything else is on this stalk on that side. So this stalk controls your indicators, and it controls your windscreen wipers, it controls your lights, it controls everything. There's a lot of responsibility for just one stalk. So that's, I think, something that could be slightly improved. Something else that could be improved with this car is these window buttons over here. So for the front driver and passenger, you press this button and you can open the windows. But how do you open the rear windows? Well, what you have to do is you have to press this button over here, and you have to essentially arm the rear windows, and then you use the same buttons to open the rear windows. So you have to choose between controlling the front windows and the rear windows. Now, I think that is slightly unnecessary. You could just have 4 lots of buttons and make things a whole lot easier. Why complicate things? But that's how it is in this car. Now let me take you into some of the more exciting stuff. So in the middle, you get this, I think it's just under 15 inches, this screen. I'll just click OK, and you can see the features of it, and it is actually quite responsive. Let me show you. Oh, that was what I was after. There we are. It's actually quite responsive, but everything goes through this car. You can change every feature through this car. You got some shortcuts at the bottom for your climate control. So if you press that, you can change your climate control. You got some shortcuts at the top for your radio, for your apps, for your drive modes, even if you want to change it to sport mode. That all happens through this screen in the middle. And I think, again, that's a lot of responsibility just for a screen, but it's large enough. It's actually quite large that when you are driving along and you're moving about on bumps, you can actually use it quite easily. So I think it's a bit of a trade-off. The screen is quite large, so not as difficult to use as some, and because it's all the way down here rather than in front of you, it's easy to reach whilst you're driving. But I do have to mention something else. So if I push this button here and I move the screen up that way, now the screen is a bit more upright, typical of what you would expect in normal car the infotainment system to be like. And what that reveals is this space down here, this sort of cubby hole down here, which you can use to store things. You can use it to store valuables, and when you close that, that locks away. So for example, if you wanted to keep something out of sight, ordinarily what you would do is you would keep it in a glove box or in the boot, for example. But if your car gets broken into, the thieves can actually get into your glove box, whereas this will remain locked. So even once the car, somebody's broken into it, they can't get into that. That's locked when the car locks. Aside from that, there's loads more storage in the car. So you get door bins over here, but you get the center console bit. Now this is interesting. In front of you, you have 2 slots to put your phone, including a wireless charging pad. In fact, what I forgot to mention is you've got some USB-C ports. You won't be able to see in the camera because they're all the way back there. You can charge your phone through there, but you can also charge your phone if you've got wireless charging over here on this pad, and then you can store another phone over here, which is actually really good, because what it means is the phone is sort of tilted away out of sight almost, so you don't get distracted whilst you're driving along. So that's pretty good. Aside from that, you've also got this storage underneath the center armrest. Now the interesting thing about this storage is you can actually take the tray out, and you can take the divider out inside, and then you can even take this cup holder out, and now you have all this space in here, and I believe that is 17 liters. And you can actually put, I'm being told, you can actually put laptops in there. So I will test that out in a second, and I'll show you exactly what that's like. But you can interchange things. So you can put the cup holder into here, I believe. Can I? That did not work very well. I've been told you can do that. Oh, wait. Can I put it inside here? I could put the cup holder away in there somewhere, and then I'm sure I can put this tray into here. Can I put the tray there? I'm sure there's a way to do this, or am I just being silly? No, this way. It turns out I don't think you can do that. But anyway, yeah, let's just put the cup holder back, and we put that back. Yeah, loads of storage in there, and then obviously you got your glove box, which has got loads of stuff in there right now. Door bins, reasonable size. But yeah, overall, I think for driver convenience, there are some things that are slightly unconventional in this interior, but there are also things that actually make your life a whole lot easier. So what's the rear cabin like of the Ford Explorer? Well, what I can tell you is, because the car has a decent wheelbase, it means that legroom back here is actually quite spacious. I've got loads of legroom in front of me. I can stretch my legs out quite straight. I have a nice comfortable seating position. The only downside that I think there is these door sills are a little bit high. So children might not be able to see out of the window. And on top of that, it also has this rear privacy glass, which I suppose could be a positive or a negative depending on how you look at it. But that's because this is the premium spec, the high trim level. It's got this rear, in fact, I think the rear privacy glass comes as standard in all the trim levels actually. So yeah, you get the rear privacy glass. In the middle, you can sit 3 passengers easily. There's enough leg room, foot room for the middle passenger, but there is a bit of a bump for the middle passenger to sit on top of if they are sitting in this middle seat. You get 2 USB-C charging ports in the back over here as well as the front, so rear passengers can plug in their devices as well. The one thing which I'm really surprised about with this car is the headroom and the light that comes in from this glass roof. Now, usually when a car has a glass roof or a panoramic sunroof, especially if it retracts, it robs headroom for the rear passengers. Now you might be able to see just over here, you have this sort of a weird configuration where this glass roof has this sort of almost kind of like a double bubble thing going on over here, where the 2 outer passengers, they're not robbed of headroom. The middle passenger, again, I don't think that will affect the middle passenger's headroom. In fact, let me move over and see what that's like. Yeah, it doesn't, I can't actually touch that with my head. So yeah, you get loads of headroom, but crucially, you've got this light coming into the cabin, which you ordinarily wouldn't have. Yes, it doesn't have a cover, and you can't change how much or how little light is coming through. The light still comes through, but it seems, again, kind of darkened, so you are protected from the light, but there's plenty of light still coming into this rear cabin. So overall, I think it's actually quite pleasant. It's actually quite nice to have all that light coming into the rear cabin. And what I hope that it will mean is rear passengers don't feel sick on long journeys. I hope so, because of all the light that comes in. But it is an electric car at the end of the day, so I wouldn't hold my breath on that. So before we take this car out to drive, I just wanted to test that theory about the storage space in the center console, in the center armrest. So if we take these trays out and we take all the dividers out inside as well, inside here we're going to test this out and see if we could put a laptop. So I've got a 13-inch laptop here, so if I stick that in there, let's see if I can put everything back in. I mean, that doesn't fit flush. Just throw the divider in there. I mean, it doesn't sit flush, but it works. I mean, if you take that out, no, I tried that earlier, that didn't work. I mean, yeah, you can fit a 13-inch laptop in there quite easily. But now this might be a bit ambitious, but I'm gonna try something else. I've got here a 17-inch laptop. Now let's see. No way, that does not fit in there. No. But I reckon if you have a 15-inch laptop, that might be able to fit in here. So yes, you can actually fit a laptop in here, which just goes to show that there is quite a bit of storage space inside the Ford Explorer. So what is it like to drive the Ford Explorer? Well, to start with, what I can tell you is that there's a lot of noise when it comes to driving this car a little bit more dynamically, or when you're driving it on the motorway. You can hear a lot of wind noise and some road noise, But yeah, I really have to talk a little bit louder than usual in order for me to talk to my passenger, or I have to put the radio or the music slightly louder. So yeah, that's one thing to consider. When it comes to the comfort level of this car is at higher speeds like this, generally quite good. It feels nice and smooth. You know, when you're going over bumps and you're going over the bubbly roads, it actually smoothens things out really well. And that's probably because the suspension seems, at least to me, it seems a little bit firm. When you're driving around the city, when you're driving around town and you're going over speed bumps and you're going over potholes, for example, it does make a big thud noise when you go over them, and you do feel everything in the road. But again, I think the way that the car's set up, it's designed to be a bit more comfortable when driving dynamically, like on roads like this, where the speed's a little bit higher. The steering wheel feels beautiful. Now, I have got the driver assistance pack on this particular car, which gives you the heads-up display, which I'll talk about shortly. It gives you the electronically assisted tailgate, and it gives you a lot of other features like your driver assistance features, lane monitoring, driver alert, you know, in case you're feeling tired or you're not looking at the road for too long. It also gives you you know, a lane keep assist and all these kind of features. And those features, I am feeling them cut in quite often, especially when I'm straying the lane slightly. The steering wheel will push me a little bit back into the lane, so they are a little bit intrusive. But otherwise, the steering wheel feels really nice and smooth, really easy. Sometimes you'll catch yourself in turns and you'll find it to be actually quite sharp. I think it might be quite dynamic in the way that at slower speeds it's nice and smooth, at faster speeds I'm not sure, but it does generally feel smooth, apart from that little, when you jerk it a little bit. But other than that, beautiful. When it comes to the comfort level, the driving position, everything, now generally I have no problems with the driving position. You sit quite high in the car. I'm almost level to the wing mirror, and in some cars you would actually be a lot lower to the wing mirror, so you look up at it, but or the interior mirror rather. But I am actually almost, my eyes are almost level to that mirror to see behind me, which means I'm sat quite high up in the in comparison to the windscreen, and that mirror does come slightly in the way, but otherwise the visibility out the front is great. I can see my bonnet in front of me, and I can see, you know, everything where I'm going without much problems. Side mirrors are a decent size, but still shaped in this streamlined shape, which is good. Rear visibility isn't the best because that rear windscreen is slightly narrow. There isn't much of an opening to look out the back, so there are quite a fair bit of blind spot over your shoulders, but otherwise I think you shouldn't have many problems with rear visibility. And for parking, you get parking sensors and you get parking rear camera as well, so that's quite convenient. When it comes to using the features on the interior cabin, yeah, I talked about this massive screen in the middle. It is quite easy to use when you're on the go. Usually they expect to be moving around too much, but that suspension actually smoothens things out really well. And the buttons on this infotainment screen are actually big enough that you can click them quite easily when you're driving along, and you can get to wherever you're wanting to go. So that's quite good. Again, it's not the most ideal to have everything in this sort of touch screen, but because everything's so big, it's nice and easy. When it comes to this car's battery and this car's range, I have here the 77 kilowatt hour battery with the extended range version of the car in the premium trim level. So I've already spoken about the premium trim level and all the features that you get with that, but you can get the car in 3 different versions aside from those trim levels, and those are the entry level battery. That's a lot smaller. I think it's around the 52 kilowatt hour mark or the 54 kilowatt hour mark. Don't quote me on that, but that particular car is a lot slower to 60, and it has a lot less range. This is the 77 kilowatt hour extended range version, so we're talking 0 to 60 miles per hour in 6.4 seconds, and it has, I believe it's over 360 miles of range. So yeah, you get a decent amount of range, and charging, it charges at 135 kilowatt hours. So with quick maths, you can see that a 10% to 80% charge can be done in about 28 minutes. On the other cars, on the larger battery, well, it's slightly larger, 79 kilowatt hour battery, that charges at a higher rate. I think it's around 180 kilowatts, but it doesn't charge that much faster. I think it's 26 minutes from a 10% to 80% charge on a fast charger. So yeah, generally when it comes to some parts of this car, like the boot space and like the charging speeds and stuff like this, it's not as competitive as some of its rivals, but in some places I think just the general feel of the car and the way that it's been executed, I think is actually really good. Ford is a brand that you can trust as well. They have been late to the game when it comes to these electric cars, especially with the Mustang Mach-E, and this car was supposed to come last year. So I hope the time that they've taken to actually bring out the car, this is what they've been working on, and they made it quite well. But yeah, I think if you're interested in buying a Ford Explorer, or you want to you're interested in buying one of its competitors, I think you should test this car out, see if the little things with the car are something that might bother you. I think it's actually a joy to drive on the right roads. So yeah, see how it feels for yourself, and if you think it's for you, then yeah, I think you should definitely check out DM Keith. DM Keith in Bradford have given me this car, so yeah, check them out. They'll have some, I'm no doubtless they'll have some good deals on. So thank you very much for DM Keith for lending me this car, and thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I was able to give you quite a lot of insights about this car, and things you might not have already known about this car. And I hope that's a motorbike, and I hope that you have learned something when it comes to this car. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.